Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes po.
Yes.
Yes po.
Yeah, I just got on. So, okay. So today we're going to discuss about the sublime. Does anyone know what the sublime is? Or have any idea what the sublime is? Anybody?
It's about the beauty of the artworks.
What about the beauty of the artworks?
The
Anything?
aesthetics about it. It's like you're figuring out on why is the artwork considered as beautiful. It's like there's a lot of different types of concept. And, and for me, I think what I understand about Sublime is something that it's more more above beautiful. It's like en grande.
Okay. So there is, it's not that clear what you're saying, um but yes, it is about beauty and it is connected to the aesthetics of the artwork. So basically this the sublime is uh one of the discussions by Immanuel Kant and another philosopher that says that beauty can beauty is according to taste, and that um, the beauty can also be terrifying at the same time. So, though, according to Immanuel Kant, uh, everybody has different kinds of taste, and the taste could be different to different people. But for some reason, uh, beauty could also be um, dark at the same time. So he's saying that the taste is not the taste is different to other people, and the taste is um, subjective. Therefore, art at the same time or beauty can also be subjective. And so that's it. All right. So, first we're going to discuss what is sublime, and then the periods of sublime. There are different kinds of periods. So, you have the Baroque period, Romantic, Victorian, and the Modern period. So, what is sublime? So, sublime is, like you said, is one of how you define beauty or how you see beauty. But the sublime is like a feeling, a judgment, or a state of mind that is a kind of response to art or nature. So, it is like judging an artwork of if it is great or whether it is there's something physical to it, moral, intellectual, metaphysical, aesthetic, spiritual, or art, artistic. So yes, that's correct. It you also call the sublime as the what did you say? You call it the aesthetic judgment, because the sublime is like an experience, enigmatic experience that takes or involves taking pleasure, and at the same time when you take pleasure in something, it also includes being overwhelmed by the different kinds of senses. It could be visual, sound, sensations, and it could also be aesthetic. It could also be um, it could also include the ideas and or more powerful or larger than us, or it could also be threatening us. So that could be the sublime. So the sublime, the aesthetic of taste is, or the aesthetic judgment is not only related to visual art, all right? So it could also be related to literature, painting, music, and architecture. So what is beauty? That's what the sublime is. It makes you rethink what is beauty and why this thing is beautiful. Because beauty charms the viewer. Beauty charms the viewer. But the sublime is quite different because the sublime actually moves the viewer. So it's like beauty on another level. So the sublime can also please and at the same time terrifies the viewer in a way that it gives a lasting impression and that therefore something beautiful cannot achieve. So it's like seeing something that is not only beautiful but it actually moves you. For example, when it comes to love, for example. So when you could see different kinds of beautiful girls, for example, when it comes to men, or different kinds of handsome men, but when it comes to picking the right person for you in a relationship, you go for the one that loves you, right? Later, I will. So, um, it doesn't matter if this person that you love or you pick the relationship with is beautiful or handsome, but um, it is the feeling that you get from that person that makes it her or she, her, she, he, they, whatever pronouns they have is beautiful. All right. So that is the sublime. You have this impression or beauty that moves you. So it's another kind of beauty. It is another kind of level. I mean, that it's not only beautiful, but rather you are moved by this certain kind of beauty. All right. So with sublime, the theory of the sublime is that you, when you mix pain and pleasure, you get astonishment or awe. So this, so it's like love, for example. You get love can be painful. Love can have when you're in a relationship with someone, can it can have sacrifices. You have to give sacrifices. You have to uh, compromise with a person, and but you still love that person even if you make sacrifices and all. And there are certain things like that person might make you mad, you make me crazy and stuff like that, but you still are with that person. So the sublime is like love. It cannot be reasoned. All right? Is that clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ay, bumalik ako. So, in 1700, the additional themes started to develop wherein the sublime is not only in visual arts, but could also be in writing, nature, art, or human conduct. It is being thought of the highest, or it is the greatest. Um, it is the greatest in a way that um, you cannot understand it, and that it has this intensity, whether it is physical, metaphysical, moral, aesthetics, or spiritual. So, during the period of enlightenment, it was regarded as having beyond comprehension and beyond measurement. So, it is like love, they're saying. So, for example, God, what believers believe in God, they love God. Um, God is a symbol of a sublime because God cannot be understood, and all the acts that is done because of that love of God or because of that belief of God is made, and that is a great example of the sublime. And in due course, during our presentation, you would see how some of the artworks could symbolize God. So during the 1700s, there was a challenge of representing the sublime because it's very hard to understand what is the sublime, especially, for example, if you're going to paint on love, if you're going to paint on God, for example, or if you're going to paint on the beauty of the world. It is very hard to like compress it and represent it in a just one piece, right? So, for example, if you're going to paint your love for God, or for example, your love for a person, try to confine it in a box. The chances are it is going to overflow, or it would not be enough. So it's the same thing with a canvas or a painting. It just gonna be understood. You would only understood now this is beautiful and this moves me, but why does it moves you? There is not a specific reason, or you cannot measure how it is sublime. So that's why during the 1700s, uh, uh, writers, painters, uh, musical artists uh, find it would try to find how to represent the sublime. So it's like painting the unpaintable. So origins, it started from Longinus in sorry, it started from the philosophy of Longinus in the first century AD. For Longinus, the sublime is an adjective that describes great, elevated, or lofty thought or language, particularly in the context of rhetoric. The sublime inspires awe, veneration with greater persuasive powers. And then may pumunta din kay Edmund Burke, whose ideas were mostly influential. So, um, so during the first century AD, the sublime is just an adjective. It's just like a word to describe something that cannot be understood, yet at the same time would move you. Then, then after the first century, then came Edmund Burke, which whose ideas were more powerful or influential. Because Edmund Burke is uh, more popular. Kasi, because Edmund Burke was able to write something. So, according to Edmund Burke, there are seven aspects of the sublime. So, you have darkness, obscurity, privation, vastness, magnificence, loudness, and suddenness. So, darkness, this is something that constrains the sense of sight, or something along or among the five senses, meaning that, for example, um, the painting could be dark or something, or there is something in the painting that hits the particular subject or object. Uh, so this is darkness. And then obscurity, this is an aspect of the sublime that confuses the judgment of the viewer. And then you have privation, or you could also call it deprivation, uh, where you are deprived of something, and at the same time it is connected to pain, where pain becomes more powerful than pleasure. And then you also have vastness, which uh, which is about a feeling, or a sense of you a sense that you cannot comprehend what you're seeing, or why this is beautiful, why you like this, and something like that. So that is vastness. At the same time, you have magnificence, uh, and it should be taken literally, wherein it means that we are, as a viewer, we are in awe. And then you have loudness. Uh, loudness could not, loudness is not, uh, is not about the sound, but rather it is about um, that is shocking, or very vibrant, or very emphasizing or contrasting to us, that makes it very loud. So the loudness here could, in visual art, could be a visual metaphor of the loudness. And then you have suddenness, that could shock the sensibilities, or in a point that it makes you stop and pause, or make you stop or pause in a point that all you could do is stare at the painting, and something like that. So that is suddenness. All right. So according to Longinus, pseudo Longinus, so you have five sources of the sublime. You have one, the ability to form grand conceptions, and the stimulus of powerful and inspired motion. So one and two is an innate source, where you got it from um, yourself. So, for example, you see a painting, um, and then from that painting, you were able to think of different things. Like you can imagine or be creative about it, and see different, or think about different things that inspires you, because the painting will inspire you. And at the same time, uh, the the painting could also inspire you, or make you feel something. So that is one uh, of the sources. And then another source is the proper formation of figures of thought and figures of speech. So that is one. And then you also have the creation of a noble diction, meaning it could be a choice of words, use of imagery, and elaboration of style. And another is the fifth source, which is the grandeur. This is the total effect resulting from dignity and elevation. Wait lang, i-on ko lang yung lights. So, ayun. Do you have any questions about this? It's a little bit abstract at this point, but later on I would try to explain it more. So, um, remember this. This is very important. The seven aspects and the five sources of a sublime. So, this is one example. So, you have this painting by William Hogarth. You have this horrific sublime, wherein the requirement for the artist is to employ a powerful and inspired emotion. If you could see it, there is a certain darkness to it, right? And that it's a little bit rustic. There is a little grandeur, like it's also vast. It makes you think of different things, right? So remember, obscure darkness, it has obscurity. You get confused of who will get who strike first, and you have privation. It has pain. Oh well, it doesn't have pain. You cannot feel pain, but from the looks of it, it looks painful. And you also have magnificence. The painting is very beautiful, and it's also loud in spite of being dark at the same time. And then it is also shocking in a way that uh, it's very surreal. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Yes.
So another painting is by Henry Fuseli. So there is a tense exchange between the Lady Macbeth and her husband. So this is the story behind this is that they are talking because they actually killed um a friend called Duncan. So the husband was holding daggers, and the Lady Macbeth was like saying shh or something like that. So it has a sense of darkness, obscurity, and privation. Like, what is she saying? What happened? We don't know at all. I don't know also. But and then according to Jonathan Richardson in his book An Essay on the Theory of Painting, the idea that sublime art could not be achieved by slavishly following rules, but rather was an experience that existed above and beyond rules in the realm of artistic imagination. So the sublime then um becomes uh the highest point, or the highest um what do you call this, uh it becomes something of a priority, or something, or a goal. I mean, a goal. It becomes a goal for every artist to achieve in their painting, the sublime. Kasi it is desirable. People make it. People see it as desirable. At the same time, that you could get emotion. You can. It makes you think. It makes you want the picture. So it captivates the soul. The mind is filled and satisfied. So that is what Jonathan Richardson say, that the painting is, or the sublime should be the goal of every visual painter or the visual artist. So, for example, Michelangelo, a historical painter, he paints the divine, and the divine is something that cannot be understood. It cannot be um, measured. It cannot be totally defined. So at the same time, it becomes, then Michelangelo is like painting also the sublime, not because he paints about God, but rather he paints in a magnificent way, like ceilings and all. So, ayan. So another is William Blake in his painting Satan's Smiting Job with Sore Boils in 1826. So this was an inspiration for Michelangelo, um, the angel, hailing him for selfless spiritual dedication to art and showing a level of commitment to parallel his own. Oh, sorry, Michelangelo, the artist. Sorry. So, ayun. So it is his inspiration is Michelangelo, the artist. So if you could see the form and stuff. So this painting is an extraordinary scene of privation or suffering. So yeah. And then you have this by Lord Leighton Frederick. And the sea gave dead which where it was exhibited. So this is another Michelangelo painting wherein God is um, or people are in the last judgment or something like that. So it is something never before witnessed, and it's just magnificent. You could see it. And then you have this by James Ward. So what is interesting about this painting is that it's really big. So it is 3 meters high over 4 meters wide.
Ang
So
laki.
yeah, it's ang laki niya. So at the same time, it's a very good painting. At the same time, it is the scale of or the size of the painting itself is magnificent in a way, and it's also very grandeur, and it's also very grand and stuff. So at the same time, there is also a sense of darkness, deprivation, wherein you could only just guess what is inside of this black area here. And it confuses you of what it is and stuff. And at the same time, it is sublime in a way. And then you could also use modern subjects from natural literature or history. For example, is this painting by George Stubbs, and wherein a horse is frightened by a lion. So if you can see, there is a sense of darkness here and privation also with the pain and stuff. So at the same time here, but at the same time, it looks very good. It's awesome. and and then you also can use reference uh, with awesome power of nature, awe-inspiring power of nature, and how the terror could, or the terror induced by the nature's emptiness, and or how it is beyond comprehension. So, for example, this one by Joseph Wright of Derby. This is Mount Vesuvius, or yeah, Mount Vesuvius in eruption. Another is this one by Richard Wilson. You could see it is confusing what the art is trying to tell, but at the same time, it is awesome. And you're just in awe on why like that, and why there is a hole or something. And then you could also have the artist could also be in a relation between the painting and the spectators. For example, this is by William Turner, Joseph Muller, William Turner, The Shipwreck in 1805. You can see the brushstroke and how the people are looking at each other, and some people are looking um, over the canvas directly to the viewer. And another one is this one by William Turner again, Fisherman at Sea, that was exhibited in 1796. You could see how there is privation, there is darkness, there is vastness, and how also, and it's just beautiful how the dark, and there is darkness, and then there is suddenly light that shines on the waves and the boat. It's terrible, but at the same time, I mean, the situation is also terrible, especially the waves are so big, but at the same time, you have this light that shows there could be hope or something like that. Well, that is just for me, but yeah. And you also have this one by John Martin. So the sublime effect could be achieved uh, in theoretic uh, effects. So um, during the 1840s, there was um, it was a time of technical age, and there was a little bit of mm, there was because Europe was very hesitant to innovation and stuff. So um, people started to paint the effects of technology, and or how everything is constantly shifting, evolving, and stuff like that. So um, sample this one, the great day of his wrath. So it is another gun. deprivation, and there's also a sense of vastness, darkness, and also this one, the Last Judgment. So if you could see, there is also another um, sense of divine here. So if you could see, and there are, so this is heaven, and this is purgatory, and this is hell. So yeah. So it's not always theoretical, but um, theoretical. Sorry, nabubulol ako. Um, During the mid 19th century, there is also a influence of the Pre-Raphaelitism. So they sought the artists in this, some of the artists back then sought to explore the ideas of ancient and the infinite in an almost scientific manner. So, for example, but there are people who does not like the innovation brought about the machines, but there are also people who embrace the innovation in a way of painting um, the effects of what has man brought in about in their painting, but at the same time showing the greatness, the beauty, and at the same time the bad effects on it. So this is a painting by William Dice. This is it is titled The Pedwell Bay in Kent, and it is a recollection of October 5th in 1858 or 1858 to 60, 1850 60, 1860, sorry. So if you could see, there are people looking at the bay and stuff like that, or whatever they're doing. And you could also see how a mountain or um, a part of the mountain has been sawed off, and that is an effect of the mechanical age. And then you also have this one, The Glacier of Recent Loy in 1856 by John Brett. If you could see here how there is also somehow a natural formation of the rocks, and also how snow is um, going over and stuff. So, ayan. And then you also have, besides the theoretical, the plane, and the effects of nature or what nature looks like, the sublime could also be about dramatic life cycles of the species that used to inhabit the world, and you could also present it with illicit sublime effects. So this is um, a painting by Sir Edwin Henry Landseer, A Deer and the Deerhounds in a Mountain Torrent. This was exhibited in 1833, and it portrays the struggle of existence. So remember the deer had the deer with the very big antlers are now extinct, and well, you could just see it here um how the deer is suffering to live. At the same time, you can see this the hound fighting the hound. So you can just see how so the hound or the dog could be like the man's best friend here, and you could see how the man could also be one of the aggressors of nature and stuff like that. So there is privation, there is suddenness that actually shocks the audience. And then you also can challenge the boundaries and the potential for domination. Oh, sorry, it's already 4. Sorry, okay. So we'll continue this next meeting. Sorry, I lost track of the time. So, class dismissed. See you next meeting. Sino ba tayo? So we ended on slide 20. So do you remember what I was discussing about the sublime? Guys? Anyone? Guys?
The Sublime.
Yes, Ariel, what is the sublime? Ariel?
It's about the art aesthetics that identifying what actually the beauty of artwork is. It's also considered as the aesthetic judgment because we're judging the artwork based on its form, its movement, and its meaning of it. That's how it actually describes as the sublime.
Okay.
With
Wait lang. So is it having an echo? I don't know. Let me check lang ha. So, okay, do I have an echo?
Wala po, pero
Ah,
naririnig po.
all right.
Wala naman.
We ended up in this slide. Do you particularly remember what I said about this slide? Guys?
No, ma'am.
What do you remember about the sublime? So,
Ma'am,
yes, April.
try lang. Ano
Okay.
po, yung cannot be reasoned,
Mm-hmm.
something part ng parang cannot be reasoned po.
So it's beauty without reason, but it's overwhelming at the same time. So that is the sublime. But in regards to this picture, for example, you could see there are different factors of the sublime. So you have You have 7 aspects of the sublime, which are the darkness, obscurity, privation, vastness, and magnificence. And then you also have loudness, suddenness, and then um, you also have the 5 sources of the sublime. So you have the ability to form grand conceptions, and then the stimulus for powerful and inspired emotion, and the proper formation of figures of thought and figure of speech, and then the creation of noble diction, the 5th source of grandeur, resulting from dignity and elevation. So remember this when thinking about the sublime. So, 7 aspects of the sublime: darkness, again, obscurity, privation, vastness, magnificence, loudness, and suddenness. Pag darkness, yung picture, there is parang a constraint of the sense of sight. And then yung obscurity, there is a sense of confusion when it comes to the person or to the people or to the viewer. And then you also have the privation, which could also be deprivation. So with privation, you have pain that is more powerful than pleasure. And then you also have vastness, which is beyond comprehension. And then you also have magnificence, wherein the reader or the viewer wait lang. And then loudness, something that is visually loud, that in a sense that the viewer would be overwhelmed. And then you have the suddenness, parang shocking element in the picture, wherein there would be like disablement. You couldn't say something or something like that. So that is the 7th aspect of the sublime. So from there, what do you think this picture have? Guys? Guys, what do you think? Sulat ko ah. Where is it? You have 1, darkness, 2, obscurity, 3, copy-paste ka na lang ng lahat. Bakit ko pa ba? Isa-isang. Okay. Yan. Nakikita niyo yung notes?
That's all.
So, ay, nawala. Wait lang ha. Representing. Sometimes. 1. Can you see my screen? Tanggalin natin yung notes. Let's go. Notes. Ano ba ito? So hard, you have this note. Then let's put it here. Ayan. So from this one, what do you think? Ay, sana. Ano yung maingay? Naglalaro ka ba, Rafael?
Ay, hindi po. Bakit po?
Okay. It's your
Ay.
click.
Okay po.
Okay. So, from here, what do you think? You have may kopya na kayo. Ano dito ang present sa picture na to? Yes, tayo.
Obscurity, ma'am.
Bakit?
Kasi hindi ang pumapasok ko kasi sa isip ng mga audience is either naglalakbay sila or na-stranded. Parang mako-confuse sila kung bakit sila napunta diyan.
Mhm. Okay. Ano pa? Obscurity lang ba? Ano magpalaki? Yes. Sino nag? Rafael.
Ano ma'am, vastness?
Bakit
Kasi para yung aside from literal na vast siya kasi like ocean tapos may icebergs. Yung beyond comprehension siya kasi hindi natin alam kung ano yung kung ano yung context ba nito. Like parang are they migrating? Like galing ba sila sa like are they parang may shipwreck ba or kasi yung coast rin tapos yung elements niya like what's happening.
Okay. Ano
So
pa?
parang magnificence. Tsaka loud, like overwhelming rin siya kasi yung mga expression nila parang like yung isa like directly nakatingin sa viewer. Tapos yung isa nakatingin dun sa like sa bearded guy, yung isa naman nakatingin sa vastness, nakatingin sa malayo.
Okay. Ariel, anong gusto mong sabihin?
Privation, since madalas yung painting para mas na po sila nararamdam nila yung mas nasasaktan sila sa starvation or maybe nasaktan sila na wala silang homes, na kick out sila ng mga tao or yung ibang mahal nila sa buhay parang pinaalis sila. Tapos na end up sila stranded in the middle of nowhere na hindi nila alam kung saan sila napadpad dahil lang sa nangyari.
Okay. So, well, tama naman kayo. Well, alam niyo ba yung kwento dito? The title is The Last Voyage of Henry Hudson. This was exhibited in 1881 by Honorable John Collier. So the story about this is about our refugees who flee to somewhere, and then they ended up somewhere very cold. And if you could see, there is hunger, starvation, there is cold. So it's very cold and they don't have that much coat. So if you could see palang sa bata, so there are icebergs, pero yung bata walang coat. So if you could imagine ilang layers yung suot niya. They don't have muffins, for example, or gloves. So they don't have scarves. So actually, the story here is that after this, they died. So this painting doesn't say a lot, but you could see how, since it's the last voyage, meaning there was pain because they died. So ayan, so there is also obscurity and darkness at the same time. So, no. So, ayun. Very dark, no? And then this one. The sublime could also connotate futility, ruin, waste. So, especially during the 20th century, where there was World War I, no, World War II, World War I, and there are revolutions, and because of the wars, there are also famine. So, um, with the sublime, the theme most of the time is indescribable, and that there is also devastation, and so there are themes na parang there is no God because of the themes, for example, this one, and there are blasphemous, there are nightmarish, and so it's like how Dante looks like in hell or something like that. So, ayan. So what do you think of this painting by Sir William Orpen? This is titled Zone Beke and, and then was made in 1918. So what do you think? What aspects of the sublime does it have? Guys? Guys? Are you there? Yes, Rafael.
So, isa-isahin ko muna. Darkness,
Mhm.
obscurity, uh, privation,
Mhm.
vastness, well, magnificence, loudness, tsaka, yeah, all seven.
Oh,
Or
okay.
yung Zonebeke. Yeah,
Bakit?
tama ba?
Can you-
Kasi, well, yeah, yung darkness, yung parang, like, again, literal na yung atmosphere niya is
Mhm.
dark, tapos may bangkay,
Mhm.
tapos may decay and rot
Mhm.
from like yung patay na puno, and may ruin,
Mhm.
obscurity, parang anong nangyayari, like parang what's happening, parang may storm ba, may war ba, may like famine ba going on. Sa privation, like yeah, this looks painful. Yung vastness naman, like ang wide, ang ano nung horizon, na parang hanggang dulo kita mo yung mga sirang yero. Like may yero pa dito na brown sa like malapit dun sa parang sirang house or sirang what used to be a house, yung parang cave na. Tapos yeah, magnificence kasi oh, may sense of awe ka na nga mong may kita, especially from the yung may reflection pa ng light from the clouds na nagre-reflect pa, so parang may pa-blue pa siya. Tapos overwhelming nga siya kasi like parang ruin, like parang kahit ano naman, like even photos naman today na magde-depict ka ng or mag-capture ka ng like yung war sa Ukraine and Russia na like parang ganyan yung vibe. Tapos yeah, yung suddenness na parang yung impact niya nga na it's war-torn scenery. Kaya parang for me, all seven aspects are present dyan sa ano. Like yun yan, parang yung sabi nga dito yung walang Diyos na nightmarish landscape. Something like that.
Okay, very good. So, how about Tyrone? How about this picture? Kasi you raise your hand, pero nasagot na kasi ni Rafael eh.
Yun nga.
Oh, how about this one? Zoom in ka pa.
Wait. For me, meron siyang obscurity.
Mhm.
Kasi magtatanong ka, ano yan? Demonyo ba yan or some kind of mythical creatures na ewan ko. Tas magnificence kasi for me, ang ganda. I mean, wow. Tapos, ano pa ba? Darkness? Kasi, well, I don't know, may pagka-demon kasi siyang tignan. Kasi, I don't know. Yun lang, ma'am. Sa tingin ko, ma'am.
Okay.
Darkness, magnificence, tsaka obscurity.
Well, correct naman. Pero I think it also has all of the elements. Pero some are just, I mean, the painting or the darkness, the obscurity, the vastness is more significant lang. But it has all the elements actually. Okay,
Oh, nice.
right? Ah. So you also have, we are going to the Baroque Sublime. So if you remember from your art history, Baroque is a period of art wherein paintings or architecture is very ornate, and sometimes you could call it extravagant, especially in music, painting, and sculpture. And for example, it also has parang high ceilings and flowery designs. So um, Baroque was encouraged by the Catholic Church as a means to counter the simplicity and the austerity of the Protestant architecture, art, and music. So, ayun yung Baroque. So, there are different, for example, Manila Cathedral in Intramuros is an example of Baroque architecture. So, if you could see there, very grandiose na design. So, ayun. So, the Baroque style used contrast, movement, exuberant detail, deep color, grandeur, to surprise and to achieve a sense of awe. So it started in the 17th century Rome, and then it spread rapidly to France, northern Italy, Spain, and Portugal. Then it spread to the Austria, and then southern Germany. And then in 1730s, the Baroque architecture or the Baroque style became more flamboyant and more grandiose pa, if that is even possible. You call it Rococo, and the Rococo especially is very you'd see Rococo in France and Central Europe from the mid to late 18th century. So that is the Baroque Sublime. So the Baroque art and the Sublime, yung retort niya or the idea between the Baroque art and the Sublime, share the same goal, that is to make people see God or feel God or a sense of awe, the magnificence, but in a form of godly presence. So art was used to make people feel the presence of God. So because of Baroque art, both assume Baroque art and the Sublime, both assume an intense relationship between the composer, their art, and the audience. So Poseidon Longinus, he saw an excellent quality that went beyond ideal proportion and harmony. And it was judged on subjective effect rather than the empirical rationale. So the Baroque art is mostly in relevance to Jesus or to the Jesuits and the Catholic counter Reformation. So the it Baroque art was used to, like I said, to persuade audience to believe in God, to go to prayer, go to masses, and such as that. And it it is also with the Baroque art. When you say Baroque art, that is beyond the architecture. It contains vivid emotion, the manipulation of perspective, and through color that also includes chiaroscuro. So um, with Baroque art, it is aimed not merely to please but also to surprise. So when you see an artwork from the Baroque period, there is a pleasing factor, but at the same time, there is a shocking or surprising factor there. So that is suddenness. So, for example, this one, a fresco by Zocaro. This was made by the Jesuits Church in Santa Maria Annunziata in Rome. So if you could see, there is a vastness element wherein you could see, or the artist attempted to paint the heavens, and there is a magnificent element as well that it has an effect of awesome, awe-inspiring effect as a whole. And then it also hints on eternity, on infinitude, and in this way, it makes you see the sublime. So, let me zoom in. So, ayan. So it is Federico Zocaro, the Annunciation with Prophets and Music Making Angels in 1572. So this is copyrighted by the trustees of the British Museum. Sorry. And then you have this Greenwich painted hall ceiling and the Old Royal Naval College. So it is to persuade the power and glory of the Protestant monarchy, to uplift the spectator. So ayan, let me zoom in. So this is in the ceiling, right? So pagpasok ng tao sa hall, you could see when you look up, you could see this painting and you could remember how God and his angels and stuff like that looking down at you. So in a way, it produces this kind of magnificence or loudness, overwhelming feeling on you and whoever passes by, and it makes someone believe that there is a God and things like that. So and then you also have not only because of God, but you also have representations of apotheosis and classical gods. So not just Christ or Jesus or God na Almighty, but you also have the representation of the classical gods. So Um, this one by Louis Chiron, sorry, the Broughton House State Bedroom Ceiling. And then you also have this one, Dining Room Ceiling naman, in the Grimsthorpe and Drummond Castle. So, ayan. So can you imagine painting something like this on the ceiling? So you will have, most likely have a stiff neck from painting and looking up so long. So, and then you also have the Romantic Sublime. Romanticism usually lasted or around the period of 1780 to 1830. So when you say a romantic, it is insensate nature, and it is usually seen as the vehicle for expression, human thoughts, emotion, and they say that it is the connection between the perception and inner being. So, um, so when you say romantic, nature is most likely the primary site of the sublime and the sublime experience. So 18th century notion of the sublime, an aesthetic. There is horror also for the simulation of effects, and because of this, you can experience awe, terror, or danger when you look at the artwork. And the most popular or notorious painter during that time was Burke, Edmund Burke, who saw nature as the most sublime object, and he said nature is capable of generating the strongest sensations in its beholder. So Edmund Burke is not only a painter, but he's also a philosopher. So he also wrote philosophical inquiry on pain, anguish, torment, and death, and the productive of the sublime. So you have exciting in the spectator of the passion or self-preservation. And ayan. So during the romanticism, the sublime there has sympathy and passion, and then the audience can enter into or could feel concern for the others or the subject in the painting. So the audience would feel moved, and even if they haven't suffered um, what they see or the scene of the painting. So that is the romantic sublime. So for example, this one by James Egan after Theodore Gerald. This is The Wrath of Medusa in 1837 at the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich, London. So this is the notorious shipwreck event that of the French frigate Medusa in 1816. Sorry. And the shipwreck was well known in Britain and France because of the reports and publications. And then there was also shipwreck narratives and accounts. So it is a popular topic during that time of voyage and travel literature. So imagine before there are 1800s, there are no machines before, but ayun. So they use sails to, maneuver themselves, and it would take months to go from one country to another. So ayun. So why do you think there is some kind of terror here, guys. Why is this terrifying, aside that it is a shipwreck? Guys? Hello?
Ano po ulit, ma'am?
Why do you think this is terrifying, besides that it is a shipwreck? Yes,
Yung
Rafael.
mga Ay, sige,
Sorry,
go.
okay, go Arul.
Kasi po, itsura pa lang, darkness, tapos merong privation nga, tapos loudness. Kasi obviously naman to sa scenery ay marami nagsasuffer din. It's like, hindi pa tapos yung pagsisika at sa paghihirap ng mga tao dyan. At I think so, ma'am, na meron pa magpapatay sa kanila. It's like there's something else that may kill them, or hindi pa tapos yung punishment nila or something.
Okay, how about you, Tyra? That's good, Arul.
Bukod ho ma'am dun sa mga dead bodies, para sa akin ma'am yung gesture nila, yung yung action nila ma'am, hindi sila naka-relax, more on parang nag-struggle sila, parang gano'n ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yun ma'am.
thank you. Rafael, do you want to add something?
Well, aside nga dun yung sa yung sa gesture, kasi parang very reminiscent nga siya yun sa yung mga, yung parang sa Spolarium, di ba? Yung ang dynamic nung posing, tsaka yung kung paano yung, especially itong nasa, yung figure na parang naka-thinking man pose si Kuya na may balbas sa nakahilatang katawan sa lower left-hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
Di ba? Parang may ganyan rin sa Spolarium, di ba?
This one.
Tapos, yeah. That part. Tapos yung, yung, tama ba? Chiaroscuro yan, no? Yung high contrast na black and white. Yeah. Kaya siya, pasok dun sa kung why siya, yung Sublime. Na
Okay.
kung ba siya dreadful.
Okay, that's good. Okay, let's go to another slide. How about this one? This is another shipwreck by Cloud Joseph Demet. What do you think? What are the elements of the Sublime here? Yes, April.
Try ko. Darkness, since dark, parang mga dark was yung paligid niya.
Mm-hmm.
Yan, ayan. Since ma-dark yung paligid niya, yung ano po niya, yung paligid niya. And then, I think, obscurity. Kasi, na-curious lang ako dun sa mga tao dito na part. Yan. Kung ano sila, anong ginagawa nila. And, ano pa? Siguro yun lang po, yung napansin ko.
Darkness, obscurity, and vastness.
Yes.
Okay.
Ay,
Well, again, it also includes a lot of elements. It also has loudness. Well, muted yung loudness. Pero suddenness na parang, when you look at it, it looks like ordinary ship or seascape. But when you look at it closer, there is a sudden idea na, uy, parang matutumba yung ship and so forth. So there is also a suddenness na, and then of security also. So, ayan. Thank you, April. How about this one? This is also by Joseph Mallord William Turner. What do you think? Guys, anyone? Joseph.
For me po, darkness, privation, vastness, magnificence, loudness, and suddenness po.
Mhm.
Um, Kailangan po ba i-explain
Lahat.
isa-isa?
Sige,
Yes.
explain mo.
Basically, yung darkness kasi yun sa color scheme po and yung sa theme ng painting. And then, privation kasi dahil po dun sa subject which is yung tao, kung like parang nalulunod or nagsistruggle sila dun sa sa pamamangka. And then, vastness dahil po dun sa may composition ng landscape na parang sobrang ayun ang iba yung theme niya ang overwhelming tingnan. Tapos magnificence parang similar din po kasi yung composition ng landscape kasi yung alon sobrang lakas and which ayun po nagko-connect din sa loudness and then suddenness yung shock ayun po kasi yung effect nung nangyayari nung scenery doon sa may mga tao po.
Okay. That's good. Guys, I told you that Edmund Burke is an artist. No, si Joseph Mallord Turner pala yung nasa isip ko. But Edmund Burke is a collector, an author, and poet. So, ayun. How about this one? This is also a shipwreck, but this is kind of different. What do you think? Anyone? Anyone? How about Nash?
Ma'am, what I see is parang hindi vastness but yung magnificence kasi yung mga tao na against great wave tas nasa boat sila. Tapos I think privation din since parang stranded sila dun sa boat. Yun lang.
Okay. Thank you. Well, that is good. And also there is a sense of security because you don't, it's hard to understand why the boat is flying or something like that. And then how about this one? This is a painting by Theodore Gerald. So this is during the 1818, The Severed Heads. And this is in National Museum of Fine Arts in Stockholm. So, ayan. So, Gerald Theodore usually paints fiction. It's people will think if it's fact or fiction. Because there is a powerful, independent, revolutionary spirit railing against art and establishment. So Theodore is a man with self-doubt. He is drawn to and is haunted by suffering and death. So I am. So there is a legend about Theodore na he locked himself in his studio, he cut his hair, and then he became in the zone to paint in his huge canvas, and then so he done the Finisterre du, so Sinister Wrath, and it's a wrath known to generation for its lurid tales, mayhem, and its loss of life. So, guys, what do you think about this painting?
It's like saying that we're near to our own death wish.
Okay. Okay. How about others? What do you feel or what do you think about this painting? Besides that, you're near death wish or something like that.
Terrifying, ma'am.
Yeah. It also looks painful for me. There is loudness, suddenness, and it makes you think why the severed heads at the same time, and where would he got the severed heads, and the detail is so, you know, almost, again. So there is also darkness involved because of death, and also it's literally dark in there. So there is also a contrasting colors of dark and light. So sabi ni Jericho or ni Theodore, the artist must experience a complete indifference for all that emanates from newspapers and journalists. The passionate lover of true glory must sincerely seek it in the beautiful and the sublime, and must remain deaf to the clamor of those who cannot be trusted. So, what do you think this means, guys? So, it just means that if there is a criticism on your work or something like that, even if it's positive or negative, you should remain true to yourself and you should not listen to them. Because the art resides within you and you should not be influenced by whatever people are saying. Because your art is yours and sorry. Tamaan yung nakusiko ko sa ano. So the art is yours. The art is a reflection of you. And as a person, you should not be influenced by others, even if it's high praise or negative comments. Ayan. How about this one? What do you think about this one? This is a representation of two distinct but overlapping tragedies, the tragedy of evil and the tragedy of dying. This is a painting by James Barry, the King Lear weeping over the dead body of Cordelia. So, what do you think, guys? So, there is a story behind this. So, there was a struggle between Cordelia and her lover, and in the end, namatay si Cordelia, and King Lear wept because ayaw niya sa lover ni Cordelia, so they something happened. So this is the lover Cordelia, this is Cordelia. So something happened, and King Lear regretted the fact that that happened, that his daughter died. So his precious daughter, he kept her. He became he gave her so much security, but at the same time, Cordelia doesn't want it and stuff like that. So she died with her lover. So it's very dark. No. And Now you have the Victorian Sublime. So after the Romanticism, you have the Victorian period or the Victorian period, and then um, if Romanticism wanted to express their emotions and such like that, Victorian naman wanted to pursue beauty. And then this is during the second half of the 19th century. So beauty is during the Victorian era is the most compelling aesthetic ideal. It is something that cannot be evoked or cannot be achieved. And then language that avoids precise definition. This is where you speak in poems and stuff like that. And then instead of using paint to hint at the terrifying or the awesome, but um, it would be presented in a modest scale compared to bombastic production. So uh, the the terrifying, the awesome would be minimal, and then there would be juxtapositions of dark and light, and there would be a fracture and then subtle blending of effects. So there would be energetic centrifugal and vortex configuration, and there will be exaggerated distortions of scale. And one of the famous painter then was Turner, who both elevated and inspired the perception of the beholder. So, for example, this is a slave ship by Joseph Mullard William Turner. So, if you can see, there is a perception of beauty, and at the same time, there is a subtle, you can see beauty from afar, but if you look at close, you could see people drowning. So shipwreck pala yun. So here, you could see hands. So there is literally subtle hints, but when you see it from afar, you could see something beautiful, a beautiful seascape. But when you look at it near, you could see there terrifying, there is pain, there is darkness. And because when you see it, when you try to zoom it in, something that was not there, or something that, or there is a shocking element, and the shocking element becomes so loud na, uy, shipwreck pala to, and ganyan. So, ayun. I think this is a horse. Tama ba? And then this is another by J.M.W. Turner, The Rain, Steam, and Speed. So during the time of William Turner, there is, kasi the railroad or the train was made. So it was also called the mechanical age. So it also is called the technological revolution, if I'm not mistaken. Industrial revolution, sorry. So the industrial revolution brought about a crisis on the sublime kasi yung, di ba, romantic era, lahat doon is nature. So you get the sublime from nature. But because there is the industrial period, what was once natural or nature or environment or forest before became houses, became trains, became buildings and stuff. So that was the industrial revolution. So artists, especially in Europe, a lot they find it hard to embrace the industrial or the change brought about by the industrial revolution. So the sublime was also, um, or the paintings was also, or the artists themselves was trying hard to look at what to paint. So, but if as you can see here by a painting by Joseph Mullard William Turner, you could see how he painted the sublime using uh, hazy uh, techniques. And you could see how there is an influence of natural sciences, geology on the painting, and that there is also objectivity to nature and ayun. So there is a problematic area here. So there is obscurity, there is somehow darkness and vastness at the same time. So ayun. And then you have this one. So this on the left is a painting by Sir John Everett Malliez. So it is the order of the release. So if you could see a soldier going back to his family, and then there is a card writing for the release. So that is, it represents the challenge of the time. So remember, during the time, there is still a revolution, world war. So, ayan. And then you also have another one by John Constable, Branch Hill Pond. So with this painting is very different from others. You could see how the hill is not as green as before. The trees were cut, and then there is a little boy there. So that symbolizes the effects of the Industrial Revolution as well. So, and another one by William Dice. You could see here, this is entitled Pedwell Bay, Kent, a recollection of October 15, 1858 to 1856. If you could see here, there is another destruction of the mountains where the mountain was scraped for sand, for construction materials. So, and then you can see here women and a boy picking up stones and what's left there. I don't know. So again, so there is, and the sublime here is the interest of how something degrades and how it is also beautiful and stuff like that. So you can see magnificent vastness and obscurity as well. And then when you understood what it means, there is also loudness and suddenness at the same time. And then you also have this painting by William Holman Hunt, our English titled English Code or the Stray Sheep. So if you could see it, this is just a sheep, right? Or a couple of sheeps. But when you look at closer, when you look at this one, you can see na nahulog yung sheep and it's falling down the hill. So there is a privation, a sense of pain, and then there is darkness and then vastness as well. The picture itself is magnificent, but when you when you notice the shape, there is a sense of suddenness in the painting as well. And then you have this one by Thomas Sadon. This is Jerusalem Valley of the Jehoshaphat from the hill of the evil counsel. So you can see here. What do you see here, guys? Anyone in this picture? What can you see?
Landscape.
Besides that, it's a landscape. What is the difference? What is the sublime here? Why is it sublime? Yes, Raphael.
Siguro yung contrast nung yung parang on the left side, there's a lot of greenery and trees. Tapos sa left side, parang unti-unti ng pinuputol yung mga puno to make room for the houses. Or baka pwede rin na, I'm not sure if this is a village, yung nasa parang taas ng hill. If it's like, bahay ba yan ng mayaman? Or village lang ba yan ng mga sosyal? Kasi parang may contrast na parang ito may greenery na tapos high walls, yung may safety na yung security ng village versus yung doon sa parang building lang dito sa left na wala pa masyadong puno-puno.
Okay.
Tapos sa may foreground may natutulog sa ilalim ng puno with their goats and sheep. Yeah.
So, malapit ka na pero you're still up there.
Ano ba, may mosque? Mosque ba yan? Or naka-frame? Naka-frame?
No. Sirit na ba? So, this is also an effect of the technology or the industrial revolution during the time of in the east, so in Jerusalem. So if you can see here, there are buildings, right? But if you could see here, there are lots of greeneries here, diba? Minention mo to. But here naman walang greeneries. So it's decay, a sense of decay or parang namatay or there is something na parang deforestation, yun yung tawag. There is a sense of deforestation in this part. So in a way, there is a sense of darkness and privation, right? So, ayan. Sabi ko malapit ka na, pero wala pa doon. So, ayan. That's why. Pero nice try. And also this one, it's the same. It is a glacier of Rosenloy. So it keeps going down. So there is all snow, and when it goes down, it would like crush somebody. So the sublime could also be used to understand how geological processes are reflected on structure and shape, and how, for example, this one, the snow deformed the rocks, might have deformed the rocks and the text. So there is another effect of color, the texture of the side of the valley, and how it was denuded by the pressure of ice. So ayan. So if you can see how this is different to this one. So ayan. And then you also have this one by John Brett as well. This is the British Channel scene from the Dorsetshire Cliffs. So sometimes the sublime is aims to reconcile the demands of science and art. So if you could see here the waves, little waves. and how peaceful it is. And there is a rays of light, and this is a little bit dark, which is hard to understand, but it actually happens. So because of the clouds, some of the clouds are covering the sunlight, so this could be in a shade. So in a way, there is vastness, obscurity, privation, and a little bit of darkness in literal form. And it also is beautiful at the same time. And same thing as this one, there is this painting is by Sir John Evatt Millais. Uh, this is titled Dew Drenched Furs, made in 1889 to 1990. So there is a wheel here, and somehow it makes the thing here obscure. So there is a smog, and it obscures something. So the lack of also human presence here in this painting makes you feel a little bit dark in a way na you're a little bit afraid of what you will find in the when you go on. And then at the same time, it has a little bit vastness kasi what is on what is forward is, or what is there on this part, you don't know. So ayan, at the same time, it is magnificence in a way that it is awesome. It looks awesome. Ayan. And how about this one? What can you say about this one? This is a painting by William Holman Hunt, The Triumph of the Innocents. Guys, what do you think? Anyone? Guys? Why is this the sublime? Why is this sublime? What do you think? Guys, painom niyo na tubig. Sino nag-raise ng hand?
Ako, ma'am. Try lang yung parang nakikripihan ako pero personal preference yun nakikripihan ako yung sa dami ng bata na glowing. Na parang are they supposed to be like cherubs or like parang mga batang angel or something?
Yeah, there are.
Yeah, parang ano ba to? Parang harvest festival ba to? Na parang like ba't sila may mga dalang mga tanim?
No, you're close. It's in the gospel.
So ano ba to? Yung si Joseph and Mary ba dapat to?
Yes.
With the donkey?
Yes.
Oh.
So what are the elements of the sublime here?
Siguro yung loudness, suddenness, magnificence, like vastness in a sense na parang saan nanggaling yung mga parang ang daming baby angels. Yung sa painful, parang wala namang nakikitang painful. Like parang maski naman yung mga hayop, parang chill lang naman sila. Siguro medyo confusing kasi yun nga, parang hindi naman talaga natin literally nakikita dapat yung mga angels or something, yung mga cherubs. Yung as far as darkness, yung aesthetic niya is, yung palette niya is, yun nga, hindi siya ganun ka-bright, pero may contrast siyang ginagawa from very bright, yung pagka-render dun sa mga angels na may glow sila versus na dito nga kay Joseph, Mary, and Jesus even, is hindi sila nag-glow.
Yeah.
Yung mga kumbaga yung mga mortal, hindi sila nag-glow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, when you say about pain, I think it's painful to walk on barefoot on this rocky thing. So for me, yeah, it's painful, and then you have to carry all this. So ayun lang. But yeah, what you said is correct. And then you also have the Modern Sublime. So this is in 1886 and beyond. So the Modern Sublime was influenced by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. So um, he declared that the Sublime is out of date. Although a number of artists of early and mid 20th century continued to engage with concepts of the Sublime, though often in ways it led ultimately to these ideas being questioned, mocked, and spurned. So it is very hard um, to locate the modern sense if you're going to look for the Sublime, especially on artists of Malevich, Rothko, and Newman and the Smithson. But anyway, so this is the Modern Sublime. If you could see how it's totally blurry, and it is there is obscurity and then darkness in a way that it hides what is out there because of the fog. And then you also have vastness in a way that um, it is vast. There is no end to it, and it at the same time there is a little bit of magnificence in a way that it is amazing. It's just simple, but it's amazing. But when you look at it closer, you can see an alligator. So, ayun, it also has a privation in a sense. And then you also have this one by John Martin. So, what do you think? Why do you think this is sublime? Guys? Yes, Tyrone.
Meron ho siyang darkness kasi yung tone niya.
Mm-hmm.
Then, vastness, ma'am. Kasi yun nga, ang lawak ng pagkakapaint na hindi na ewan ko kung bundok ba yun nasa dulo or what, or clouds ba yun. Ay, hindi, bundok nga. Tapos, for me, ma'am, may magnificence din siya. Kasi, yeah, maganda siyang tignan. As in, may awe na feel.
Mm-hmm.
Tapos, for me, yun lang, ma'am.
Okay. How about this one? When you zoom in, there is a sense of heaven.
Ay, wow. Hindi ko
Galing.
napansin yun. Wow.
So there is loudness and sadness then. Pero
Galing.
pag nakita mo, right?
Oo nga. Grabe.
Galing, no? And then
Kala
there,
ko ma'am yellow. Snow.
oo nga eh. So, ayun.
Langya. Meron pa lang ano doon.
Yun nga eh. Nung zinom ni mo, wow.
Dahil,
Magnificence.
Yeah. Ano yun?
kala ko po ulap or shit, gano'n.
Yeah. How about this one? What do you think? This is by Gustave Courbet, The Source of Love. The Source of the Love in 1864. What do you think? Yes, Ariel.
Meron siyang darkness kasi obviously kasi kuweba yan, malamang dark yan.
Mhm.
Tapos sometimes obscurity kasi merong part dyan na confusing kasi hindi natin naaakalain na way out ba yun or pupunta ka sa other side. Pero may tendency na maliligaw ka sa sa loob ng kuweba. Tapos magnificent kasi yung mismong art form talaga ng kuweba. Napapawaw ko talaga sa nakikita mo. May ibang part vastness ay merong medyo comprehensive yung pag yung pag-paint ko.
Mhm. Yun lang ba? It also is vast because you don't understand why this is the source of love. So basically, it's like saying the source of love is this, the caves. You don't know where the source of love is. So at the same time, thinking about it, like, okay, oh nga, no. So it's shocking in a way. And at the same time, because when you think of it, it's like there is a sense of deprivation. Like there, it's painful to understand that the source of love. You don't understand the source of love, but it's all darkness when you try to find the source of love. So it's like also trying to find a love one or a lover, but you can't find anyone because it's all dark. So at the same time, there is obscurity and darkness. So ayan, galing no. And you also have this one. So this is by Paul Cézanne. So if you remember, Paul Cézanne is a master of Cubism. So if I'm not mistaken, so this painting is sublime in a way that it tries to convey a sense of the world in its raw immediacy. So there is differences in from a simple observation. So so the sublime here is the idea that when you look at nature, you can see na there are difference. Not everything is the same. So the idea there is the sublime. So ayun. How about this one? Why do you think this is the sublime or this is sublime? Oh. Anyone? Byron.
Of course, ma'am, meron siyang darkness. Tapos, ma'am, obscurity, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Pinaka mas na ano sa akin, ma'am, obscurity.
Mhm.
Ano yan?
Okay.
Yun lang, ma'am.
And then there is
Darkness tsaka obscurity.
also vastness. In the middle of the square, there is a white point. Ayun. Like ano yan?
Oh.
Like it's representing someone or multo. So there is something representing like sabi niya, super sensible. So ayun. There is a presenting feeling or the impression of the divine. So ayun. So in the sense of darkness, there is one light being. Wow. So ayan. How about this one? Why do you think this is the sublime? This is a work of art by Marcel Duchamp, The Fountain. So if you remember, this is a Dada work wherein he just got a urinal fountain, put it on the table or a seat, and then wrote Armot in 1917. And he displayed it in a gallery and said, "Everyone, this is art." So, why do you think this is sublime? Anyone?
Kasi check yung number one, obscure siya.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi parang, ang title niyan? Fountain, di ba? Tama ba?
Yes.
Fountain, yeah. Tapos, I mean, vast siya in terms of, it is beyond comprehension na parang, ano naging fountain yan? Tapos, I think, di ba yung parang, yung considered siya na installation ba? Or yung sculpture, yung sa Dadaist. Well, sudden siya, like parang shocking na parang ano yan, nasa art gallery tapos inodoro.
Yeah.
Na may armot.
Yeah.
Yeah, tapos, oh, like parang, can you consider it dark because it's like toilet?
Mm-hmm.
Yun, so parang kaya siya na sublime.
So, explanation here. Well, totoo namang sinabi mo. You're correct. But it's also an object that occupies space. So, in that point, as an object that occupies space, it just plays, replaces, fills out the empty space. And it becomes the thing of the void. And in a way, nothing at the same time, it means just there is nothing of absolute negativity. So in a way, it's a little bit dark in a way na it's just there, doesn't do anything, but at the same time, it's just there. And that it also raises the idea of divine, that anything could come from nothing, just like the toilet there. Or so if you think of it, you can make art out of anything. So what the chap did was that he got a toilet, a urinal, and then put it on the gallery, signed it Armot in 1917, and then that's it. So there's a sense of divine at the same time, that there is, anything can come from nothing. In a way, it's magnificent, also. And at the same time, it sublimates the sublime, wherein it's the opposite of the sublime. And in that way, it is also a bit shocking and overwhelming at the same time, because it's not really the sublime, but the sublimating the sublime is shocking. So that's it by Marshall Duchamp, The Fountain. And how about this one? Why do you think this is the sublime? Guys, any idea?
Kadalasan po obscurity saka privation kasi merong confusing kung bakit may dahilan ba kung bakit ganyan pinakita yung ng artist. As in, what is that? Ano ba yung purpose ng ganito? Ano pa gusto pa sabihin na may privation kasi na merong parang galit na galit yung tao sa isang lalaki o babae na toyo siya o nadalok. Ginagawa niya, malamang maninira, tapos parang isa lang yung puso na ng mismo na nangyari sa kanya. Parang ibinos yung galit sa may isang painting. Tapos ginamit niya knife, sabi na it's either parang siyang, yan yung photo na siya dalawa ng together. Yung ginagawa, spinlit ng gamit ng knife. Tapos merong vastness, meron siyang medyo comprehensive.
Okay, parang Parang gumagawa ka na ng sarili mong story. So, well, nandito
Hindi
na.
pa, wag mo na mag-jowa. Hanggang aral muna. Sana mag-jowa kapag tama ng yung panahon.
Okay, so this is an artwork by Lucio Fontana. When he showed this um to when he exhibited this, he was like um he he's what do you call this? He cut through the thing, and then there is a black area there, right? So that is darkness. And he was like, when he did that, he was like, I have created an infinite dimension. So the darkness there, or the sublime, or the darkness there, the dark here, it represents the vastness, which is beyond comprehension. If it's in the infinite dimension, it is vastness, and then there is darkness at the same time, and then it is also obscure, because when you look at it, it is confusing as to why it is like that, and also magnificent in a way. For me, it is magnificent because how can someone allow to put that into art? But at the same time, it is also very loud and interesting and sudden in a way that someone could um, just scratch something like that and then proclaim, I have created an infinite dimension. So, but this symbolizes the spatial concept of waiting in 1960. So, and then you also have this one. This is so people would this is a minimalist artwork, right? So it is red, and he said that it has a sensation of time, sabi ni Brett Newman, and that anxiety in the face of privation is converted into joy obtained by the intensification of being. So when you look at this, because this is big, you can see how this is you can reflect yourself on it. So the private or the deprivation of elements make you reflect on yourself and what you feel. So in a way, it intensifies you at the same time. So that is the element there of sublimation. And then Newman said that the joy or the Battersby summarized that joy is not located on the beyond, on divinity and God and stuff, like the romantic sublime, but the joy is located here now on the present with you. So that is the explanation of why this artwork is a sublime one. So do you have any questions? Naintindihan ba? That's the last. Guys? Do you have any more questions?
None.
Hindi naman question, pero parang comment lang na nung nagsimula siya, parang ang ganda ng artwork na parang yung para sa akin yung very interesting yung Sublime kasi mahilig ako sa heavy metal. Tapos yung mga parang ano niya or yung parang very illustrative yung mga sinaunang artworks, especially yung mga 18th century.
Mhm.
Tapos habang tumatagal parang mas nagiging abstract na lang siya. Like
Yeah.
yung ano parang like yun nga, parang album cover ng mga heavy metal bands or parang like if naabutan niyo yung mga like heavy metal magazine, like parang almost fantasy art na siya. Na yung depiction nga ng ano, yung morbid pero yung parang grand nga siya na ano, like metal. Like hindi lang rock, metal siya. Pero habang tumatagal parang hindi na to metal parang like ano na lang siya, like color swatch or like inodoro. Parang sad lang, pero nakailan pa si Nietzsche. May sariling ano naman yun sa ano, diba? Sa mga philo. Pero anyway, yun lang, comment lang.
Yeah, so it's also the same with all art right now, especially in the contemporary art, like abstract, and you have abstractism, expressionism, and um, minimalism. So art from the grandiose art during the Baroque period, naging simplified yung art today, and art now focuses mostly on what the person or the audience feel about the art, on how it can provide an experience or an emotional response to the audience. Uh, so that's why how the art became so far at the same time. So it's not just the sublimity of the art, but rather it's affecting the whole art uh, today. So again, so anyone else? Additional comment, or do you have any reaction? But that's good though. Nah, that's a good um, observation. Anyone? So if you don't have any more questions, I would give you more time to finish your Sublime plate. So let me check lang yung if anyone have passed. So only 2 of you passed. And I would also give you another artwork on what is the sublime in art. So so this is your classroom, Google Classroom. So this is your PowerPoint, and you could also watch Sublime. What is Sublime if you want to watch? And later I would send you the recording. And this is your plate that two already turned in. And then I also want you to answer this one. What is sublime in art? It would be due on next week. All right? You have to answer the question in 500 words or less. This is an essay format, right? Okay. Sorry, today is 22, right? So 29. All right. Okay, guys. Any
Yes,
more
po.
questions? None? Okay, guys. Class dismissed. Please continue your work on the Sublime. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.